Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I'll give Jalea. Okay. Going back to this. So the easiest thing to do is you notice the URL is level 2. So let's switch it to level 3. Boom. Hey, we got past level 2, right? Now what do we have? Oh, did you see that? It flickered there. Wait, let's watch. Stop being so
depressed, oppressed,
negative.
negative.
Stop being so negative.
Oh, so you negative the image.
Should we negative the image? Move and notice that the URL is not prawn false. Move to the other site. Oh, let's stop being so negative.
You true.
Change the false to a true. Bam!
I see.
Level 4. Right? So this goes on for 138 levels. And yes, thank you, Owen. So we have they get hard. They get super wicked hard. And I have heard that people on the upper levels, they start asking you to do hacks that are questionable in legality. And there are people who are like, I ain't doing that. So I've never gotten beyond like level 10, something like that. So, but not prawn. And I recommend going to not prawn if you're into puzzles. It isn't an ARG, at least as far as I've gotten in it. It's web puzzles, right? It's puzzles. So the whole beginning of the Missing Locksmith is solving that code, and it's interesting and it's fun. You've got the keyword cipher is in that evidence 2, and then the keyword is given. Makes me think of the impossible quiz, I think. I'm unfamiliar with that, McKenna. Well, is it online?
Yeah, actually, I think it's a Flash game, so
Yeah.
it might not be available
it's
anymore.
dead now.
And there might be a a file that's still playable if you have a. You never know.
Right. So
yeah, basically, it's one of those quizzes where like a lot of the questions are like extremely smart alecky. So
trying to make you think outside the box, right? I've got a book called Journal 29 that promised a narrative-driven puzzle book, and it was just page after page of puzzles. And I was like, where's the narrative? So the first thing that makes this not an ARG is there's no narrative. There's no story, right? Same with Journal 29. There's no real story. There's just puzzles. And puzzles are fun. I'm not knocking puzzles. I love puzzles. But an ARG has a narrative, a story, characters. So the Missing Locksmith has the 3 criminals, each of which has 1 digit of the lock's code. And they've each hidden their digit in a different way, right? So first off, in terms of puzzle solving, we know the form of the final code is going to be a 3-digit number. And we know that each section is going to end in a single digit. So knowing the form of our puzzles helps us solve those puzzles, and giving us that kind of framework gives us something to work towards and to check our work against, to know when we're done with a section. Oh, we got a number. Oh, we're done. Now we're starting a new puzzle, right? So the websites help because they're part of a world. So we've got that North Hampton, UK website, right? But it's still not an ARG. It's got a narrative, it's got puzzles, it's got web-based stuff. What makes it an ARG? Brian, I see a hand. Talk to me. Or is that left over from before? Or are you typing in the chat? Tell me. Oh no, that's not a hand. That's my cursor. Oops, sorry. I didn't raise my hand. Yeah, sorry. It's just my cursor happened to end up over your little box. No ideas. Okay. Well, the minute you emailed someone and got a response is when it became an ARG. Does it have something to do with the people and the fact that they pretend to be real and exist in the same space as other people? Exactly. The characters talk to you, right? And in this case, it's just setting up a couple of emails with autoresponders, right? So it doesn't matter what you email to the emails. They send you back something lickety split that helps you on to the next part of the game. So as soon as you start corresponding with an email address and you get a response, you are talking to someone, and they're there, they're ready to talk to you. So that said, now I have 10 minutes. So I had all sorts of struggles with the other class because Amazon has something weird that when you try to play an Amazon video, it gives you sound but not picture. So there, I was playing this and they had a black screen and could hear the sound but not see the picture. And I had to go to 2 different browsers before I could actually. So let me double check this. I'm gonna optimize, and this is gonna get me copyright problems with Amazon or with what's his face with YouTube. But can you all see picture?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to start it here.
Didn't even pull one of the little
You have
flyers
sound.
yet. It wasn't
Yes.
until I walked
you.
around more and more and started seeing some of the other flyers that I really started wondering what the heck this thing even was. I started grabbing some of the little tags and calling the numbers and hearing the messages.
Thank you for calling the Jejune Institute, San Francisco headquarters. We would like to invite you to a special orientation session. We are located at 580 California Street, Suite 1607. For those dark horses with the spirit to look up and see, a recondite family awaits.
I kind of didn't know what to think. I at first thought, okay, someone's making these crazy advertisements for something that's almost too impossible to even exist. And they seem to be urging me to visit this physical place. Once I got to 580 California Street, I was kind of intimidated a bit by both the locale and the building. I realized this is downtown financial district. This is a high rent district. This is a place where you have Bank of America. I walked in and asked for the Jejune Institute. The security guard seemed to know what the place was, asked for my ID, had me sign in, gave me a visitor badge, and at that point directed me to the elevators. I get out and see this very normal looking lobby, and I see the receptionist there who didn't really seem at all like anybody from the website. You know, I wasn't really seeing the name of this company I was looking for. And the receptionist, you know, asked me if she could help me. And I said, yeah, I'm here for the Jejune Institute. And she handed me a key, and that seemed to be that. On one side's a map. On the other side, there's instructions guiding me through the floor I'm on to some location. So I navigated the floor based on the map and the instructions and ended up at a room.
Greetings. Welcome to the Jejune Institute San Francisco Induction Center. Please enter the room and close the door behind you. Now, have a seat in the lounge chair provided for you. In a moment, our orientation program will begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
So I'm going to stop it there because I'm time challenged and I want to show you. I have actually been here. Sorry, I have to back up. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Here we go. Share. I've been in that room. One year when we went to GDC, we had a lunch break, and I said to some students, hey, you want to go do an ARG? And they had taken this course, and they said, yes. So we walked down to the financial district and asked for the Jejune Institute, and got our visitors badges, and did exactly what that guy just said, and found ourselves in this room, and we watched the video, which was about to play for you, and it's quite long. It is essentially about a cult-like organization, it seems like, that I'm going to skip ahead in the movie to the end of it. Okay, and stop the share, and I'm gonna share that. Share, and up you go.
In conflict, violence, and heartbreak. Patent pending.
I will admit that, you know, this was a rather bizarre experience, and I had no real clue that when I went down there, this would be what would be there. And then on the TV appears this rather strange-looking old man who's calling himself Octavio Coleman, Esquire.
You will begin to notice the divine occurring all around you in 1,000 minuscule ways, constantly, all the time. So we will begin the induction process.
At one point, he makes mention of the desk sitting next to the chair that I'm in, and how I really shouldn't open the drawer that's there and take what's inside. And then at that point, of course, I had to open it and look in the drawer. And that's when I, for the very first time, saw what would later be referred to as the induction card. And it looked like a crazy person designed it. I started realizing it was telling me how to navigate myself out of this building. and to do so in a way that evaded the security of the building. So I thought I'd give it a shot.
Okay, so that was fun because it's transgressing. So essentially, there you are on the 16th floor of this financial building, and if you just take the elevator down and leave, they will take your visitor badge from you. And they tell you on the card, you are going to need that visitor badge. So you have to escape the building without going through the front doors, without going back the way you came. And it gives you detailed instructions on how to get out of the building, that will deposit you in an alley behind the building. And it's very exciting. You feel like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, we're like dun, 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 sneaking around the building. And let me share this. So share, and then that card leads you to look for symbols which are out on the sidewalk. You're supposed to look for actually these rings near the symbol, because the symbol might get destroyed, but these iron rings are actually in the cement of the sidewalk, which leads you to this alleyway, and this entire wall, this graffiti is mentioned and is part of the puzzle that you're tasked with finding. And then this seems very strange, but nobody makes any mention of it, but it's referred to on the card. And you finally find yourself in a parking garage where there is this electrical box with, notice, the same symbol, and it's only held on by one screw, and you can lift it up and see messages behind it. And then you open it up, and there's this whole, do you know the truth about Dr. Sun Yat-sen? And there's all sorts of stuff to read, and you notice how the type gets tinier and tinier. But more importantly, there are all sorts of messages in that box from people who have been on this very trip before you, and visitor stickers and graffiti and all sorts of cool stuff. These are the students that I was with who are filling out the special card. That leads us to take an elevator up to the top floor of this particular parking garage, where there's a park. And there's this big statue of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, who was in the mentioned in the box and is part of the entire mythology here. And on the back of it, there are the nonchalants have put there's actually a more permanent plaque, but people who actually like Sun Yat-sen kept ripping it off, so you can see they just taped this sign on. Later you find an actual brick in an actual wall. That is the next clue. I don't remember what this was. These are just kind of pictures from we had to sneak into this building and up to the 4th floor and out onto this balcony, and this is the view from the balcony, and this is the building that we started with, where the office was. And you notice there are these really weird statues, but I think it's part of the architecture and not part of the game. And it eventually tells us to go to Coit Tower for the next bit, but that's far away. So we went back to the office, and there's a whole other thing where we had to find Cerebus and another clue, and then we were supposed to look in this this thing. So we wanted to record what we saw, and it would flip around, and we saw this woman, and one of the original signs said she was missing. And it kept spinning around until we got her face. It's hard to see. And then it told us, I know. Then it told us to go to Coit Tower and tune to like 91.2 on the FM radio dial, where there was a pirate radio station that we could listen to for the next thing. And this was an amazing experience of seeing things in San Francisco that you don't expect to see, and having great fun running around. And this was their rabbit hole. So I want to point out that there are things you need from people who are playing your game, like ways to contact them and stuff. But the point of your rabbit hole is to get them interested, right? So an easy thing is just to say, oh, here's a sign, join our club, and that's our rabbit hole. And 9 out of 10 people are going to be like, I don't want to join that club. So the more spectacular you can make your rabbit hole, the more you will attract people. Okay, Gabe, I'm done. I'm out.
All right. Okay, so a couple quick things. The writers met yesterday and got about halfway through the storyline. Planned on having that finished up on Wednesday. So writers, please go to the channel and fill out the when to me if you already haven't. It's looking like we're probably going to meet at 6 o'clock on Wednesday and just continue until we are done with the general story outline and the characters. Gameplay met and they've looked at what we have so far, come up with some ideas for puzzles. Gameplay people, if you could either put in the writing chat or in your own chat, just some like any ideas that you have or changes you want to make in terms of the gameplay from what's already there, please do that so we can use that in the writers meeting. Same with tech. If you want to look over what's there, we have some like websites and forum ideas that have been posted. Let us know if those sound feasible for you guys or not. And art, you'll be getting reached out to soon in terms of some art stuff to start working on. Other than that, there's only one person that hasn't joined the Trello board yet, Noah Goodman, and you are here in class. So if you can hear me, please join the Trello board. We're just waiting on you for that. And I'm gonna hand it over to Jack now, and he's gonna talk to you about what we have on the story so far.
All right, so I'll just quickly go through a basic summary of what we have so far. We're starting with a historian or a restorationist of like graves and stuff like that, who investigates Ephraim's grave, expecting it to be empty as usual, but there is someone else in it who is wearing modern clothes, and they have some sort of clue on them, and they make a post online about it, which is where we're going to have the rabbit hole for people to join in. And players will have to solve that clue. And from that, it leads the players to a website, which is the like home server website of a mysterious organization. From there, they can learn about where the organization is located physically, which should be nearby to where the researcher is. So the researcher goes there in real life, and finds some details about how the organization's like backstory and their relation to Ephraim, and how they're searching for him, but he's on the run. And they also get more details that feed back into the website for like further plot points, but that's about where we stopped, except that we planned after that for Ephraim to directly contact the player and to give them a
Jack, you froze right at Ephraim contacting.
I did freeze there. Yeah, so Ephraim contacts the player and he asks them to help him sort of escape the organization and take it down, which that would be the start of day 4 or so. So the players, not the players, the characters in total would be the historian as a sidekick, Ephraim as the mentor. We don't really have a position for a goddess yet, but we will think about that and try to add or change stuff to fit the goddess role. And the villain is obviously the evil organization that you're trying to take down.
Cool. If anybody has any ideas on goddess from what Jack just said, feel free to put it in any of the chats. One question we did have for you, Dean, is I was just talking about this with gameplay. How much exactly is expected to go into the rabbit hole? Because we were told in the assignment that we should have 2 story beats and 2 gameplay beats for the other days. Is that not the case for rabbit hole?
That is not the case for the rabbit hole. So there, in many cases, a rabbit hole can be simply a cool video or URL that leads me to be interested and go to a sign-up sheet of some sort, or send an email of some sort. Hey, I just, I like your ideas and I want to receive your newsletter. It's not 2 story beats. It's outside of the regular days of the ARG. So it's kind of, I'm going to keep showing you rabbit holes as the days continue. I'm going to show you a different rabbit hole tomorrow. I'm also going to keep showing you different kinds of gameplay that have occurred in other ARGs, right? So keep your mind open, your options open. The one thing I love that you guys are super organized. I only worry that by the time I get done explaining it all, you will be like, we can't do any of that because we've already got a plan, right? So just keep yourselves open to ideas. And obviously I don't prescribe that you must do this. I just want to keep feeding you possibilities.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
yeah. And so then for the rabbit hole, would there necessarily be like a gameplay beat for the rabbit hole, or not really?
Some way to make contact.
Okay.
But
All
what you don't want is a gate. So if it's like, solve this code, right? Solve this puzzle in order to join our secret society, that's a gate. And 9 out of 10 people are going to be like, no,
Okay.
I'll go read Twitter instead. So you want to make it as easy as possible to join the game, but make it as interesting as possible. And if you do any kind of gameplay, it should be brain dead easy, right?
Okay.
So for instance, one rabbit hole that it was an ARG for the Smithsonian. And they asked you to send a picture of your eye because it was the mind's eye. So you could, take a picture of your eye or zoom in on a picture of yourself with the eye. But lots of people sent in cat's eyes and dog's eyes. I took a screenshot from Psychonauts, and those are some freaky characters in that game. And I sent in a Psychonauts eye. So that was enough that now they have my email. They have a cool picture. They can build something from that, right? So, keep. If it's there's some gameplay, it should be simple.
All right, cool.
Anything else?
Do any of the writers or gameplay people have anything to ask Dean about that I may have missed?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I actually have one question. It's about like the difficulty curve. Just in that regard, like how fast should it rise? Because we're all a little worried about, like we were talking about earlier, aka like an hour ago, about how fast we want that to go. Because we don't want it to be like way too easy until like day 4 or 5, but
right.
We don't want it to be so difficult that it limits the barrier and like day 2 or 3.
So the problem is always the difficulty. What you think is easy is probably twice as hard as anybody else. So puzzles are always hard because it's very easy to fall in if you just think like me, you'll get it, right? And most people overestimate how easy a thing is. So if anything, this is another thing that always kind of happens. We get some ARGs that are dominated by gameplay, and so it's puzzle heavy and story light. And then we get others that is story heavy and puzzle light. And it doesn't always happen, but I've seen like, this is a 5-part code breaking. You have to know what the Enigma cipher is, blah, blah. And your players just go, I don't know. And they leave. So every puzzle should have a kind of hint system and different basically I would say at least 3 levels of hints that your characters can say, hey, have you thought about this? Right? Not that they know the answer, but that they're involved in helping, right? Because they want this solved too, for whatever reason. And so they're working with you. That said, you don't ever want to give your players either. You don't want to have what's called a shill, which is a sock puppet that is one of you posing as a player. And if they're not getting a puzzle within what you think is a good time, then you give them the answer, right? Because, and this has happened, oh, that guy knows how to solve puzzles. Well, maybe he'll figure out the next puzzle. And then everybody else sits around waiting for the smart guy to figure out the puzzle. And essentially you're playing your own game because nobody else solves the puzzles. And then your sock puppet says, I figured it out. It's this. And everybody goes, yay, he's really smart. Right. And then you're just giving answers to the same puzzles that you made. So there's hints and then there's solves. Don't ever solve, but give hints if you need to. And stay away from sock puppets entirely. People should know who's a character and who's another player. It's not always possible because people come in and people leave. So I'm a new guy playing. Oh, and I'm talking to you. Are you another player? Or are you and the way to do that is usually make the characters clearly outlandish. I'm an alien from Garbus 4. Probably not a player. So give hints. You will probably make puzzles too difficult for people to solve in a timely manner. If you ramp things up, be prepared to ramp things back down. The problem, also test your puzzles, right? You've got 20 other people in the class who know nothing about your puzzles. So, set up play tests. Hey, can you guys look at this puzzle and see if you can solve it? And let us watch you and say it out loud or type it out loud. And then you get you get an idea for how difficult things are. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you
Yes.
so much. That
Yeah.
helps.
It does help a lot.
Yeah. Test. Because once it goes live, a bad puzzle is forever bad. to semi-quote Miyazaki. A good puzzle can be fixed, but before you put it out, but once you put it out, it's always broken. And if you put out a broken puzzle, this is why I do the thing about the authorial contract, where I have to try and I have to pay attention and I have to follow the story, and you're gonna do right by me. If you put out a broken puzzle, then and I spend hours trying to solve this puzzle, and then I get a message, oops, you should look at the puzzle again because things are changed. And then I look at it and I go, oh, it was that thing I thought of in 20 minutes and discarded 4 hours ago, and now I want to kill somebody. Right. So remember, this is your final project. This is their final project, but everybody, it's going to be the end of the term and everybody's going to be under pressure. And the worst thing you can do to any of your players is waste their time. Right. So every moment of your game should pay off somehow, right? That I feel good for having spent the time. And I got to say, playing the Missing Locksmith, both with Ro in the 3 o'clock and with Jaden here, like I figured stuff out and I felt good about myself, right? Because I felt really smart. The user experience you want to give them is that they feel smart and capable. And I am way over time. Anything else?
Yeah, one quick question.
Yeah.
Is there a specific playtesting requirement for this class? I don't know if that was mentioned before.
I have not made an outside playtesting requirement because you were all playing D&D.
Okay.
And that was a playtest for his graduate project. And you're going to playtest each other's stuff. So they have given us the capability to say if there's substantial playtesting in the class itself, you can count that as your playtesting credit.
All right, cool.
Okay, but do help out other people who are freaking out trying to get their MQPs playtested. You don't have to do it just for credit. Okay, everybody's pictures are getting bigger, which means people are leaving. So I'm going to call it here. And I will see you all tomorrow with more Argy stuff.